The following program is a public service of Gulf Coast State College, WKGC, and Commodore Productions. And now, the Military Hour with Carrie Dieter.
Welcome to another edition of Military Hour. We have returning guest Linda Cope, founder of Warrior Beach Retreat. Her son Jonathan, not to be confused with, we had Jeremy up on the lower third last week, and I take full responsibility. And we have Captain Whittle, Air Force retired, with us. And then we have Pastor Jessie Dasher on Dasher. Now I got it, I can remember it. Thank you, Pastor. Sorry for the faux pas. And Captain Whittle, thank you, brother, for your service. And we both still need haircuts.
I know, you still need a haircut.
Yeah. So, getting closer.
They're coming in Saturday,
All right,
21st.
today's the day for everybody to spill the beans, let all the cats out of the bags, and let everybody know what's going on. Who are we going to start off with today?
Let's go ahead and start with Pastor over here.
I think that's a good idea.
Church.
We had a brief consult that we're kind of from the same area in Georgia, but we won't go into that.
Well, I will say that this is the first time we've had the opening ceremony at the First Baptist Church of Callaway. And we met with the pastor, and he met with the church, and it was a very good response. I'll let him talk about that, though. So we're excited that and honored that he and his church have agreed to host the ceremony and the supper.
We have,
Absolutely.
we have a lot of retired vets in our church. Actually, we have a lot of wounded vets too. The different ones of them had been in service and wounded. Mm-hmm. So
That's good. And you mentioned you've been here 2 years, is that correct?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. Well, welcome. And again, I know where he came from, but I think he's going to find after 2.5 years, you're probably not going to leave from here anytime soon.
No, the traffic's way better here.
Absolutely correct. Forget Atlanta.
Yeah, way better traffic.
Boy, goodness.
Now, if you will, just give us a little bit of your background. What led you into the ministry? I know what led Jonathan, but what was your preemptive emphasis of moving you in that direction?
Into the ministry?
Into the ministry.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. I graduated DeVry Technological Institute with a bachelor's in electronics engineering technology.
So if they're not paying attention in the pew, you can like...
Exactly. And then I went to work for, well, the company has changed names many times, but at the time I went to work for them, they were Landis & Gear Powers. Today they're known as Siemens Building Technologies.
Oh, yeah, that's a big company.
Concern.
Yes, it was, so when I went for them, those much smaller, been purchased and bought, and so I worked for them for 9 years, but you work for a company and you grow, and I loved every aspect of the job.
That's
but
good.
I wasn't satisfied. Something was wrong. It was like I couldn't put my finger on it. And you know, it's like I used to joke at that time, that was in the 90s, and a famous TV show was ER. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know, for as much stress as I'm on, I should have been an ER doctor. At least somebody's life would be online instead of worrying about if some president breaks out in a sweat in his office in a high rise, or if the phones go down on the East Coast. I mean, no big deal. And the Lord spoke to me one night and said, well, I got something. How about if people's souls were online? And so he changed my career.
Good.
I quit my job, went back to school, which let me just say, you never tell God I'm never going back to school, because he doesn't take nevers very well.
Yeah.
So he sent me back to seminary. I spent 3 years in seminary. Recommend everybody do that.
Where did you go? What school?
Mid-America Baptist Theological Seminary. At the time it was in Germantown, Tennessee. Today they've relocated and they're in Cordova.
Mm-hmm.
Cordova, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Which is really like a suburb outside of Memphis.
Yeah. Interesting story. Well, we wish you the best, and might be a little late, but welcome to Panama City.
Well,
Thanks for what you're doing for your not only congregation, but all the veterans you have in attendance as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to Captain Whittle. Same year, we both wound up in the military, same year, 1971. He stuck it out. I did my term and get me out of here. I was done. But tell us a little bit about your service and how you're getting involved here.
Long story. I'll try to make it short. I was in pre-med biology in college. They had college deferments, which they did away with. And I went to a lottery system, and I wanted to finish college before I went in, but the U.S. government didn't see it that way. The old Uncle Sam wants you, and I went down to talk to various branches. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
I talked to various branches of the service. The Marines quickly talked me out of joining them because they were all about, this is what we're trained for, and get out there and whatever. We won't go into that. But anyway, the Army, I could have gone in as a second lieutenant and a chopper pilot because I'd finished over 2 years of college. I only had 6 months left, but Uncle Sam wouldn't wait. So I'd gone down and taken the flight physical for the Navy because I really wanted to fly initially, maybe a flight surgeon, but at any rate, I ended up joining the Air Force. I did already have a family. We had one son at the time. I had worked for Sears and Kenny Shoes corporations. I was an assistant manager at Sears. I worked there for about 5 years while I was trying to finish college because I was putting myself through. Every summer they would call me up for a draft physical, which I'd pass 1A, and then school would start back in the fall, and they give me my 2S deferment back, and so it was taking me a little longer to get through. I was taking the minimum 12 hours to stay full time, but went in the Air Force, which had to go enlisted because I hadn't finished college. I ended up dorm chief in the basic training, and so I got out of that with one stripe. I got lucky. I made staff in about 4.5 years. Vietnam was tapering down. I had a friend that went in the Army, and he laughed and said, "What took you so long?" Because he made it in like 3 years in the Army, but he got a plush assignment over to Germany. Because the score I made in some section on the entry exam, they needed someone in cryptographic equipment system repairs. So I spent the first about 7 years, I guess, doing computer repairs, electronics, and then he did programming. I think I did hardware. So more call for his field. But I ended up hearing about the PA program. I was teaching CPR to 2 or 3 squadrons because I had the background anyway in the hospital. You had to supply your own instructor. And you could get into the PA field as if you had patient contact for a year, you were supposed to have it. But so I volunteered when I got off duty at the command post. I'd go over and work the emergency room in the evenings, depending on what shift I was on. So I could get my patient contact. I finished my college, and of course, it was 3 or 4 years after I got in before I could get to where I could finish college. And then I got selected to go to the PA course, which I was happy about. There was more than one person, even from my base, that applied. The very tough criteria to get in. They called me from one of the instructors. Of course, it didn't hurt that I had a recommendation from the general on base. The guy in the emergency room was one of the initial instructors at the PA course that I was working with. But they called me and they said, "Well, you scored the highest anybody ever scored on the test."
Wow.
To that date, which was a long time ago. And so I got selected. I went in. I thought if I really made good grades in it, maybe I could get into a medical school afterwards. But I actually went to one of the schools that were sponsoring PA programs. They said, "Oh no, we don't want to use PAs because we don't want people using it as back door to get into the medical school." But different things happened anyway, and I became a PA in, what was it, 77, and that's what I've been doing since. I served out at Tyndall for 10 years. I served at a number of bases, 3 years in the Philippines overseas. Base, I was the officer in charge of the forward triage team. Our job was to go out and retrieve the guys from the front line, or to respond to emergencies in the civilian sector, that kind of thing. We had an emergency room back then at Tyndall, which we no longer have, among a lot of other things that are different. But
yeah, right now they're redoing all that out there at Tyndall. We've got a lot of similarities that we'll talk about when we're finished, because as he's mentioning some of these things, I'm like, oh yeah, been there, done. Oh yeah. So we're going to have a brief chat afterwards. But
well, and Buddy is the one in charge of, aren't you organizing everything at the church for the? He's on the committee
chairman for the team that's overseeing the things. But we had 20 volunteers roughly that were serving, and then there's about 7 of us on the committee. Some of us are, both lists. Like Jessie said, we have at least three combat wounded veterans. Marine, he was, I don't know, do you have time for me to go into that?
yes, sir, absolutely.
The Marine had a traumatic brain injury in Iraq, and he was already married. His wife was Army, and he recuperated from that. He's now our youth pastor at the church.
Wonderful. Wow.
And he and his wife are celebrating their 15th anniversary, I think it was, shortly here.
Terrific.
Another gentleman who's our stewardship chairman, he was Army, and he was combat wounded from a tripwire in Vietnam, and he had both knee replacements. He lost his hearing in his left ear and damage to his left eye from shrapnel. We have another individual there, had some minor injuries, that's one of our deacons. And now the services are considering all military that were wounded on active duty as wounded warriors, although not combat wounded necessarily. There is a difference, unless you were wounded during a military exercise, even though you weren't really in combat. Is my interpretation anyway of the information on it. So a lot of other veterans that weren't necessarily serving in field, they were serving as a behind the lines support.
Right.
Are considered, and they are saying they'll see these veterans as a wounded warrior, and then depending on what's going on, they may send them over to the VA. They'll want to try to take care of their own.
That's good. Long overdue.
I had occasion, which every now and then comes up, but I had occasion to take a brother to get him into the health system and get him situated. In fact, yesterday morning. But and I'll do it anytime somebody needs it, male or female, let's go. So I can take you to see the right people.
That's right.
I just know who to take you to. So, but thank you for what you're doing for our veterans. You too, Pastor, thank you for what you're doing. Obviously, what you're doing is a success for the wounded warriors, and I always thank you for what you're doing. So
you're welcome.
It's necessary, and it's just such a good thing to help the warriors and their families. So.
Well, we focus not only on the Wounded Warrior, but also the caregiver.
Right.
And we're a local charity, not affiliated with Wounded Warrior Project, that we started, for people that don't know, after our son lost both legs above the knee by an IED blast in Baghdad, Iraq. And we realized there were a lot of groups out there doing a lot for the Wounded Warrior. But to me, it's the caregiver that, I really believe it's tougher on that caregiver. And I feel like I can say that as a mom with a son that lost his legs above the knee, that with seeing what his wife was going through. And so they come, their marriages are saved. I don't know if people got to see this story, read the story in the paper about the Wounded Warrior couple that their marriage was saved by coming on this retreat. And then also the TV station did a story. I'm getting comments about that from people. So the impact is huge, but it's only possible because of people like Pastor that say, we're going to host this at our church. It's a lot of work. I mean, they're feeding a lot of people. They're getting a lot of people. They're feeding the meal for the people that come, that are the window warriors and then the staff. They're preparing to feed a crowd, and that's a lot of work, a lot of commitment. And then for Buddy, saying we're going to help organize this. But the people that line the streets, please line the streets. The parade is that we're leaving at 4 o'clock, and we're staying at the Sunrise Beach condominiums. Grateful for Hector Solis, who got the 21 rooms donated from the owners.
Yep,
Lots of phone calls. He was here last week,
Yep.
and so grateful for his help and support. And and then for your church helping us. But please, the website warriorbeachretreat.org gives you the parade route and the times where we will be at different locations, because we've never gone to Callaway before, ever. This is our first time, and we're looking forward to it. And from what Shirley's getting, your wife Shirley with Callaway Country Florist, who is a big supporter too, she's getting them out there. She's going, come on now, I want you lining the streets, and it's a real blessing to see and hear about the support of this community, because it's only possible with people wanting to help us continue this.
And real quickly, this is an example. We have with us right now Captain Whittle, okay? Served his country in the military, retired from the military. What's he doing? He's a vet helping vets.
That's right.
And that's what we do. And I want to thank you again for what you're doing. Absolutely. And thank you for your service as well. I appreciate that. It was my honor. Absolutely was. But this is what veterans do.
They do.
Not everyone can. Because some of them were, when we were younger, we were raising families. But we kind of get to that point where we go, hey, I want to finish out, and I want to finish out well. And I want to help my brothers and sisters. So, again, thanks. Appreciate it.
That's neat. You've got so many veterans in the church, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If I have a second.
Absolutely.
On the parade route and stuff, of course, Po Folks in Callaway is going to cater the meal for the vets. The people, the public, are invited to the service afterwards, but they're donating part of that. So the serving ware and some things like that. Also, Newbury Real Estate, Tom and his wife, they're going to line the parkway with flags down the median, and they've been in contact with the Springfield, I guess, because part of that anyway, between there and Cedar Grove area, and they're going to put flags out also.
Good deal. Fabulous.
And I don't remember the name of the gentleman that's handling that, unfortunately. My wife knows those names better than I.
I'm one of those that they say that people suffering from CRS can't remember stuff. My wife says I have CRN, can't remember nothing. So it's in my book, that's all excusable, and we just ask for forgiveness when we forget. Or we go, what's your name again? It's not Jeremy, is it? Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yeah, there we go. So we made that mistake somehow in any event.
And Jonathan's my right-hand man. He's the executive assistant and the chaplain for our organization. So you want to say anything about why you do this or what it means to you, Jonathan?
Well,
you do it for haircut money, right?
Really, honestly, I love doing this because I get to reach out to these guys and gals and encourage them to counsel and give them hope to carry on. You know that God has a plan for them and God has a purpose for them, and that they're not alone, and that we can understand what they go through, and it's a bond that's formed. Mm-hmm. And that's why. And when they feel alone, they're not alone, because we're there for them when they need them. We love these guys and we have fun, and and also tell them don't give up, and we become family basically, and just really live life, and Jesus loves them and keep on going. So that's what we can do.
And that's admirable and honorable, and I'm glad you're doing that. And I'm certainly glad you finally got out of school and graduated. And
It took a little while, but he finished.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, in the front of the parade, I want to reiterate, talk about this. The front of the parade, we have those that have served in about 5 vehicles prior to 9/11. And you've ridden in that parade, haven't you, buddy?
Yes.
What did that mean to you?
Well, the first event that I actually rode in the parade, we brought my wife's father, who was a Korea Navy, and then he served 3 tours in Vietnam as EOD. That's explosive ordnance disposal. And of course, when the vets, a lot of them got back from Vietnam, they were not treated well by the country, unfortunately. They were spit on, called baby killers.
Sure.
So it was a pleasure to be able to take him. He rode in the car in the passenger seat. And the welcome that the people in this area felt like, you know, it meant a lot to him. He had a heart attack going on 2 years ago. Several years before that, he had a stroke. Despite the service, he's 90 years old now, or he will be this year anyway. And so, you know, at least he got to know that not everybody felt that way. You're in the military, you're doing a job.
Exactly.
You know, what your country tells you. The motto is, mine is not to question why, only to do or die.
That's exactly right. Yep.
So, yeah, you did the best you could. You know, I continued to practice in the medical field for longer than I was in the service here in the community area up until the last couple of years. And last 2 years I've just been not practicing. I've thought about going back into it, but I don't know what God has to say about that yet.
Well,
But it's very moving, isn't it? Being in the parade, being there with your dad,
It
that
was.
never got a hero's welcome home. That's why we have a box of Kleenex in every car, because it's very moving. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
encourage the community,
yeah.
please come out. You do by the thousands. And it does more than you can even imagine. You know, his buddy could hardly even speak about it with what it did in his father's life.
sure.
Because this is a very unique place to live. The patriotism here is beautiful. It's unsurpassed what others have seen that come from all across the country to these retreats.
Yeah, I can't think of another area in the United States that has a concentration and a community heart like we have in Bay County.
I agree.
I mean, and that's why I'm here, because I didn't know where I was going. Well, you know that story, and lo and behold, this is where the Lord wanted me, and I'm here. Now, there's some people who don't want me here, and that's okay. There's some people who do want me here, and that's okay, because I understand fully that not everybody's going to like me, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with it, because I'm just here to help out.
We like it, Karen. We like it, even without a haircut.
You didn't see. I knew that. I knew the haircut was coming up, because I usually am buzzed, and I've just been busy. So
Excuses. Yeah,
it's
we were here a week ago, and he still didn't have a haircut. And he always ribs Jonathan about his, so he made sure he got a haircut. But Carrie didn't get his. But
his spot's shinier than mine. So
got to put powder on that next time.
so give us the location where your church is at, the street address and all that.
The church is at 6930 East Highway 22. So when you're going, if you're taking 98 towards Tyndall, when you get to 22, you turn left like you're on the Weewaw-Wichita.
Go left to Weewaw.
And see, not too bad to be able to say that much of it in 2.5 years.
I don't call
Yeah,
it
I
that.
couldn't say Weewaw-Hitchcock either. I couldn't say it either, so it's Weewaw.
Yeah, I know a lot of people abbreviate it, but the sign
It's long.
So you head out that when we're right there on the right, almost across the street from Callaway Elementary.
Okay, yeah, I know right where you're at. Yeah,
And
sure
it's
do.
free and open to the public at 7 p.m. And after, you'll have an opportunity to thank these men and women, shaking their hands for their service, and it's going to be special.
Good deal. And the parade starts at what time? From what point?
4 o'clock from, it's actually going to be leaving from the Wyndham parking lot, the resort, which is right next to the Sunrise Beach condominiums, at 4 o'clock.
Leaving from Wyndham. 4 o'clock.
Yes, and again, the parade route is at warriorbeachretreat.org. We are a 501c3. If you want to donate, you can do it right there online, and that's what makes these retreats possible. But please get out there and honor these men and women like you have in the past. It's very, very healing, very healing.
You know what a bunch of us are going to be doing, right?
You're going to be riding.
Yeah,
we get the bikes. We've had as many as 600 bikes out there in that parade. So
a
y'all
lot.
come out. If you're a biker, it has to be a bike. Can't be a three-wheeler or something, or it's got to be a bike that you can ride in the parade. What you got, Karen?
Well, now you got to, you have to, you got something to explain, Lucy. Trikes are still bikes.
Okay. All right.
And they can have a wheel in the front and 2 in the back, and that makes it a trike.
Oh, so they qualify. Okay.
Yeah, now there's something else that they have 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back that's got this, I think some of those qualify.
Whatever.
But-
That's fine. That's fine.
Anyways, but
Motorcycles.
2 wheels are nice.
Motorcycles. Just bring your motorcycles out there and line up. The people on the bike show up some at 2 o'clock.
And your
1:30.
cages, oh yeah, you know why that is, right? So we can all tell each other lies and stories that, we wish were true, could be true, or might be true. It's just camaraderie. So.
Yes, and we're grateful.
A
And
lot
the
of
Air Force
teasing
is
goes on.
and the Air Force is usually out there in their uniforms riding in the bike, so it's very special.
Yeah,
But we have the
it is.
speaker. I need to mention this, Joseph T. Howard, one of the commanders at the Navy Dive School, which will be the speaker. First time we've gotten a local speaker. So we're very grateful for him being
I
there.
forgot about that because I knew that. And I forgot.
We got to make sure we
That would be
mention his
good.
name.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
It'll be good. So I know a bunch of my Navy EOD guys will be out, and some of the active duty Air Force, I know they'll be out and all that stuff. And I'm not loaning any of them any money. So anyway.
What a lot of people don't realize, being in the medical field, is that every person that served in the military, being a veteran, if you served more than 6 months, you've got that military in your blood. And secondly, a lot of the guys that didn't get killed or wounded, if they saw their comrades fall,
Yeah.
that affects them. And even the people that didn't go wish they did. That they didn't get the opportunity to serve. Sometimes the people that survive wish they hadn't, at least for a while. And Linda's organization helps them to maybe get over that feeling. Even the ones that weren't wounded and weren't there, sometimes you can't help but feel, well, it'd have been better to die in Vietnam as a hero than to wither away as an old man. So, you do what you can.
Well, don't wither.
Don't wither.
That's the deal. Don't keep active, keep moving, help veterans, help your community. That's the thing to do. That
Well,
is
and all
the
these
thing to
retreats,
do.
they heal each other because you get that big a group of vets, and the ladies talk, and then the men talk, and they realize I'm not alone. And like you said, if you're in just for a short time, it's in your blood. And they make connections they keep for the rest of their lives that they call on. And Jonathan calls them. He was on the phone laughing today, talking to a bunch of the veterans, just encouraging them, talking to them on the phone. So
Yeah, and it's funny the things that don't escape you sometimes. When if I have to tell somebody my name and I'm on the phone and I've got this impediment, it immediately comes out. It's like Delta Echo Echo Tango Echo Romeo. That's my name. And if they're military, they get it. Like boom, they got it. If they have never been in the military, they'll be like, you mean like David, or you mean like Earl? I'm like, yeah, okay. But eventually they'll get it. So, but it's a lot of things that just don't leave you, that stay with you for life. Anyway, speaking of life, this is a help for life, the work that you're doing. Pastor, I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Captain
you.
Whittle, we're about to roll this one up. I still want to talk to you a minute. And Jonathan, appreciate what you're doing. Linda, as always.
always,
Thanks
yes,
again.
thank you for
Looking
having
forward
us.
to it.
Thank you.
Till next time, we'll catch you later.
Thank you.